Live from downtown Vancouver at the Vancouver Film School campus, it's time for EP Live. Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas. This is Bear Safi, and we are back after a little bit of a break, and it is time to talk about everything cool, and lots of cool things have been going on. We are going to jump right into our rundown, which we are dedicating to the one and only Dave Filoni, who we all love. Yes, we love Dave Filoni.
Yes. Give a round of applause for Dave.
For kicking ass on The Mandalorian, and The Clone Wars launches tomorrow on Disney+.
Cannot wait.
The new season. Can't wait to get caught up and watch all of those. Okay, let's get into our rundown. It looks like Hollywood is getting ready to loot the alien world of Pandora. A big screen movie based on the Borderlands game is moving forward and has officially signed a director, filmmaker Eli Roth. He might seem like an unusual choice. Roth is best known for directing lower-budget horror movies like Cabin Fever and Hostel, although his taste for violence and dark humor might fit the tone of the Borderlands games. The film is being produced by Lionsgate, a frequent collaborator of Roth's, and game maker Gearbox Software is also involved in the creative process, although it's unclear how much control they'll have over the final film. After Sonic the Hedgehog, we're going to start to see a lot more video game movies get greenlit.
I'm worried about this, Vic. Because I don't think Eli Roth is the right director for this.
No?
And I don't think...
Why?
What great films has he done?
You know what?
Like, what has there ever been a movie that...
he's done some acting, and he's been around Tarantino.
Yeah, but that's acting. You know?
He's got a good movie in him.
Like,
Look at his
IMDb and look at all the movies he directed.
And
they're
produced.
all like 5 out of 10s or 6 out of 10 movies.
Sure.
And Borderlands is an amazing franchise.
Yes.
You know, it deserves that fan treatment.
Right.
And I don't understand why video games movies, we don't get the 3D treatment. And I say that as in, like, why don't we get video game movies like Spider-Verse?
Right.
You know, like, why does that not go forward and we need to make these live action
3D animation?
Yeah, like a 3D animated movie that really, gives love to the world and the characters.
I think they probably feel like it's too closely connected to what the video games already look like.
That's okay.
And they want to change it. I mean, Hollywood wants to put their stamp on. And then they get relegated to DirecTV. Good call, Kurt. That's very cool.
Yeah, but
I
don't know. Eli Roth?
I think this is... I'm certainly not a huge fan of his work for sure, but this is pretty big news for a less than hugely conspicuous title out there. It's a big franchise.
It's a huge franchise.
But I don't know if it's the first thing that people say, we need a movie about that. It's a big deal. It's a big game. And, Eli Roth is enough of a name that it's an interesting choice.
It's better than Ua Bowl, right?
Yes.
So we're getting somewhere, and... we'll see what the future brings.
He's throwing some harsh shade on Eli Roth right there, breaking it down. I love
it. Oh, look, the copy of Dreamz fell.
Oh, don't hit the table. That's right. Okay, now over to another video game movie. We're going to be talking about video game movies every episode of EP Live, I think. It looks like the big screen Uncharted adaptation is finally happening for real. The film adaptation of the Naughty Dog video game series will begin filming next month. That's according to star Tom Holland, who tells IGN that shooting starts in just 4 weeks and that the screenplay has taken a lot of inspiration from the fourth game, A Thief's End. That might come as a bit of a surprise, given that Holland is a lot younger than Nathan Drake in that game. Holland adds that he's been a big fan of the entire series, which is one of the main reasons why Sony wanted him to star in the film. An Uncharted movie adaptation has been struggling to get off the ground ever since the first game came out in 2007. Now, you know what's interesting about this, right, is Mark Wahlberg is playing Sully. And
don't look at me, Vic. This is a dark time for video games, man.
It's really weird, right?
Oh.
And the other weird thing is that, of course, the Indiana Jones 5 is going into production this summer as well. And presumably, we're going to have an Uncharted and an Indiana Jones movie hitting screens around the same time. I love Wahlberg and I love Tom Holland. They're kind of cheesy choices for Nathan Drake, though. They're so inappropriate. And everybody says, why is it Nathan Fillion and Nathan Drake? Especially if you're going to do the fourth movie first, right? Or the fourth game first. Make it about Nathan Fillion. And then cast a younger guy, if that's successful. It's crazy.
This is why I might blame the Sonic the Hedgehog movie for all of this.
Right.
Like, this train of Hollywood.
No, they've tried this before.
They have tried this before. We were on a good break Vic.
Yeah.
We had a nice little streak without any,
Dude, you know what
Uwe stopped making movies.
Yeah, but
for
you know
a
what
while,
Sonic proved, and same with Detective Pikachu, is that if you
okay,
take,
though.
it was okay. It was too
Yeah,
weird.
yes,
but
it's not
it
great.
honored the fans of Pokemon in some really fun ways.
Yeah.
Okay,
Could have done it better,
Sonic definitely did. And they learned a huge lesson that they went back to the drawing board and redid all of that animation. A huge pain in the ass, lots of money, lots of overtime work for lots of people involved. But they really wanted to make the video game fans care about the movie, and they did. So that's a huge lesson for Hollywood.
Before we move on to the next thing, it's kind of
Yeah.
clear that they're trying to make an origin story here. So we'll probably see a young Nathan Drake kind of getting to the point where he is. They're probably going to want to make a franchise out of this if the movie does well.
Yeah.
Right? So they're probably going to want to do 5 or 6 movies in the next
What's going to
20
be
years.
interesting is all the short guys that they hire for the bad guy roles. because Tom, they're about
they're
my
both-
size. Tom
yeah,
Holland
they're
and Mark Wahlberg.
5'6", 5'7". Yeah.
It's like me and Tommy starring in Uncharted.
Listen, Robert Downey Jr. is like 5'7"
He's,
too.
yeah,
man.
he's,
Like,
not, he's not big.
Yeah.
But I expect all the big bad guys will be well under 6 feet. Hopefully they're great movies, though. I mean, like, hopefully all the stuff is coming together and they'll be a lot of
don't know,
fun.
Vic.
We'll see. I still have hope and faith.
You're much more positive than I am.
And
about this.
I really genuinely like Tom Holland. He
He's a sweet actor.
He's
a
great.
sweet dude. He's
pretty much saved
great
Spider-Man in the MCU as well, right?
Yeah.
So, yes. So you have my faith for a little while, young Padawan. All right. Speaking of Padawans, Disney and Lucasfilm are giving audiences a new way to watch the original Star Wars films, although not the originals. Coinciding with the Blu-ray release of the new film Rise of Skywalker on March 31st, Disney has announced that they're bringing all 9 of the Skywalker saga films to 4K Blu-ray for the first time, including the original trilogy. Until now, the only way to watch the classic films in 4K was through the Disney Plus streaming service, so the Blu-ray should have a lot less compression. The only problem is that these will be the special edition versions with altered visual effects and re-edited scenes, which have aged so well. These have been the only way to purchase the classic films for years and are the only versions that many younger Star Wars fans have ever seen. And this was the opportunity right here, wasn't it?
This was the opportunity. You know, I don't know what's going on as far as the unspecial edition, the originals goes, because there was a talk about J.J. Abrams talked about it on Twitter a little while ago. Then he was interviewed after, and I wonder if it was Disney silencing him because he was like, I don't know if it's possible. Like, I don't know if the
it
stock
is possible,
footage, which I think it is possible.
Yes.
I think that was a PR, kind of answer.
Yeah.
And then there's all this talk about licensing. There's some talk about, some people owning, which I also think is bogus.
What, effects?
Just some of the scenes.
Some of the pieces?
So, some of the pieces because Fox, I think, had some rights to the first movie.
Fox is owned by Disney now.
Yeah, which
So
I don't
all
know.
of it is
I don't
scrubbed.
know what's going on. I mean, I'm sure Disney has the power to do this.
Yeah.
Well,
you know what Disney also has the power to do is, like redo these effects in general, like redo them all.
that's
Like
true.
they have all the plate shots, they have all the green screens, they have all of the original CG work.
I don't
Go
know
back
if people,
in
I know
and
people will be
tour it.
satisfied with that, Vic. I think there's a lot of people out there who want to see it how they saw it in theaters in the 70s, and they
I'm
want
one
to
of them.
relive that.
Yeah.
So I don't even think that's the right way to go. I think they just need to add this as a Blu-ray bonus.
My thought is it isn't even the special editions of the original trilogy. It is episodes 1 through 3, which are aging even less well
that's true.
than the
That's
special
true. 'Cause
editions.
The last 2 were shot on digital too.
They're brutal.
Yeah.
I watched 3 recently because I'm addicted to Clone Wars again, and
Yeah.
it was awful. It was so cheeseball. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't the story. It wasn't the acting.
Yeah.
It was the effects were terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
and
seeing Yoda fly around, like, it doesn't age well.
No.
Right? This is the issue I think with VFX in general.
Yeah.
Is just it does not age as well as animatronics did in the 90s. Like,
Well,
look back at like the Mortal Kombat movie. Do you guys remember Goro in the Mortal Kombat
Yeah.
movie? Remember how good that looked? That was awesome.
because it was a puppet.
It was a puppet.
Right.
Exactly. It was the highest end of a puppet they've ever built in Hollywood at that time.
I mean, they went down the road, and I feel like what they should do is go back and keep correcting.
Yeah.
And then.
Sure.
It's kind of sucks that they're always tinkering with it, but they've already opened that box, so you might as well go back and fix it. And while you're at it, fix Leia and Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One as well, because we can do those things better now. You really can. Okay, we have got a fantastic guest that we're going to get to. His name is Andrew Lawson. He's an animator from Disney. But first, here are your weekend plans. Welcome to Weekend Plans, where we show you the best new games, movies, and TV shows to check out this week. Move over, Chewbacca, because Harrison Ford is a new furry companion. The Call of the Wild is a new movie hitting theaters this weekend starring Ford alongside a cartoon dog named Buck. Based on the Jack London story of the same name, the film takes place during the Alaskan gold rush of the 1890s, with Ford as the leader of a mail delivery dog sled team who takes Buck under his wing. Together, they go on the adventure of a lifetime.
We could go, you and I, where no one's ever been before.
Alongside the cartoon dog, there's also cartoon bears, cartoon wolves, cartoon avalanches, cartoon rapids, and more. So, judging by the trailer, it looks like Harrison Ford is one of the only real things in the movie.
Glad you're enjoying this.
Corruption 2029 is a new tactical strategy game from the Bearded Ladies, the same studio behind 2018's Mutant Year Zero. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic future where players command a team of heavily armored soldiers who go behind enemy lines. The gameplay looks very similar to Mutant Year Zero and other tactical games like XCOM, and the developers are promising a heavy degree of strategy and challenge with loads of RPG-style customization and abilities. Disney struck down the Clone Wars back in 2014, but it's become more powerful than you can possibly imagine because an all-new season begins streaming on Disney Plus this Friday. The new episodes continue the story of Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka Tano, and more between the events of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, although it looks like some of this new season will continue the story even after the events of Revenge of the Sith. Given that we already know what happens to most of these characters, it will be interesting to see what creative scenarios the show can come up with to keep longtime fans engaged and on the edge of their seats. Another prequel series returns this weekend with the 5th season of the Breaking Bad spin-off Better Call Saul. The new episodes will see Jimmy McGill finally embrace his Saul Goodman persona and begin serving as a lawyer for some of Albuquerque's most shady criminals, complete with new cameos from some familiar faces. Because the show is quickly approaching the time frame of Breaking Bad, you can expect the tension to build and build, although this won't be it. A 6th and final season has already been greenlit and will hit the airwaves next year. Amazon had a lot of luck with Man in the High Castle, so they're giving audiences more Nazi hunting action with Hunters. The show is loosely inspired by the hunt for real-life Nazis after World War II, with Al Pacino playing a skilled Nazi hunter who recruits a team to uncover and eliminate a secret cell of former Nazi evildoers living in the United States. It looks like the show is going for a more comedic take than what you would get out of most shows and movies based on this subject matter, so hopefully it strikes the right tone.
Mazel tov!
That's it for this edition of Weekend Plans, but make sure you keep your eyes peeled right here for more new games, movies, and TV shows to check out next week. All right, we are back. And we have a very special guest with us today. His name is Andrew Lawson, and he is an animator that works at Disney Animation Studios. Frozen 2 was his last big project. It's coming out on Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray on February 25th. And Disney reached out and said, would you like to talk with Andrew? And I said, hell yes, we would like to talk with Andrew Lawson. Yeah, right. Everybody, please welcome Andrew Lawson to the Electric Playground. Woo! Andrew, I understand that you are from Vancouver and you actually went to the Vancouver Film School.
Yes, that's correct on both accounts. I grew up in Vancouver. I moved there when I was about 3, and I stayed there until I was about 25 or 26, and I went to the film school 97 and 98 in the awesome. 3D program.
What was your inspiration? What made you want to become an animator?
A lot of things. I was always drawing. I was always that kid that was always doodling. And then, just my love of movies. The two of them combined. A friend of mine went to the film school, did the multimedia program, and he clued me into the 3D course. And Toy Story had just come out, and that had blown my mind. And so I did a part-time course and loved it, and just dove in.
Awesome. What was your first project that you got involved with coming out of the school?
Oh, okay. The first thing I worked on was actually a TV show called Stevie Stardust, and it was made in Potsdam, Germany, which is a small town just outside of Berlin. So I don't know if it ever really saw the light of day, but I was only there for about 3 months. It was a short-lived jaunt over there, but exciting nonetheless. But that was the very first thing that I worked on. After that, it was another TV show down in Melbourne, Australia called Imaginary Friends. And again, I'm not too sure if it ever saw the light of day, but after that, I came back to Vancouver and I worked at Mainframe Entertainment, and I worked on Reboot. And,
wow, yeah.
That's
amazing.
Got some fans of Reboot in the house.
Hell yeah.
A lot of love for Reboot here. That's fantastic. We're going to get into your Disney work in a second here, and I think you've worked on things that the whole world knows, which is incredibly exciting. But we also love video games here at EP, and one of the titles that you worked on was with Free Radical. It was Time Splitter's Future Perfect.
Yeah, the third game.
Talk to us about your days at Free Radical. You must have moved to the UK and lived and worked out there.
Yeah, that was the first time I actually lived in the UK. I was in Nottingham, and I was there for just over 3 years. I worked on Time Splitters 2, and then Second Sight, and then the last game I worked on there was Time Splitters Future Perfect, which is great. I had a lot of fun. I still keep in contact with a lot of people that I worked with there that are now all over the globe. Yeah, it was a good group of people. It was fun. It was a small studio, so we got to do a lot of different things. You could branch out, and my friend James and I, we ended up doing a lot of the writing on Future Perfect. So he and I we wrote the story and the dialogue for the game. Wow. Did a lot of we cast the voice actors and did the voice direction and stuff like that for the game, which is awesome. And it was something that the bosses allowed us to do just because we were a small artist-driven studio that didn't really have screenwriters or, casting directors or anything like that. So if someone put up their hand and said they wanted to try doing it themselves, we were kind of given the green light to do so. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Andrew, is there a part of you that misses doing video games? Do you kind of in your future want to look at doing a game in the future again?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's not really a comparable. It's apples and oranges. There was definitely something great about working in a small studio too. You ended up doing a lot more, but and then the downside is you end up doing a lot more. There's not as many support people. There's not as many people doing all the small jobs that you'd rather not do. But yeah, I might do it in the future. I like doing it. I like doing what I do now too, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I think it depends on more what the project is and where in the world it is.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about Frozen here for a second. I want to talk about a lot of the work that you've done at Disney, but Frozen 1 was obviously a massive smash and a beautiful film, and Frozen 2 also extraordinary and beautiful, but a lot happens in computer animation in between movie releases. How do you kind of deal with the new tech that's available to you, but also maintain a consistency to the look and to the feel and the flavor of the characters?
Yeah, well, definitely. The tech is always evolving, and we're always trying to push it. Luckily for me as an animator, the art form of what we do doesn't rely too much on the tools at hand. It's always great to get new tools. Obviously, making things work faster is always the biggest want for us. But I think the biggest, it's funny, I asked a few people around here, Steve Goldberg, he was our CG soup on both movies, and Marlon West was the head of effects. And they were saying that probably the biggest thing is we have a new renderer since Frozen 1, and so that really sped things up quite a bit. There was advancements in the crowd system. So before we had what was called procedural creation of the crowd, so that we had certain faces and certain body types, and we would just mix and match them to create different crowd members, but now the modelers were actually allowed to kind of create their own, so it made a little bit more of a diverse crowd. Advances in sim technology for cloth and for hair. So whenever we get these boosts in tech, then the artists go great, and then they push those to the limits. And then, you get more strands of hair, you get better clothing. Definitely Elsa's dresses, you can see there's a huge improvement from the first movie on the level of detail that they were allowed to put in. And then definitely we learned a lot with water on Moana, that they were then they put that knowledge into the effects for a lot of the water scenes in the like later sequences in Frozen 2. So it's really just plugging in the new developing software into the pipeline, which is like always evolving. So
Andrew, have you ever sat in with a live audience to see their first reaction to one of the Frozen movies, and like, what's that like? What's that feeling like? This is like, such a phenomenon, and I don't know if you have kids or nephews. What were some of the reactions you've gotten before, and what does that feel like?
Yeah, it's great. I actually, I was lucky enough to get cast on the first Frozen to do the Hans reveal. So the scene where he goes and goes to kiss Anna and then says that he's the baddie, essentially.
Yeah.
So
that was awesome, by the way.
That was a great reaction, and I definitely went and watched that in theaters a number of times, because it was really great seeing people's reaction to that reveal. That was probably the best thing that I've ever seen, because it's great seeing people's reaction to something that you've done. I go to the theater to watch all the movies. It's always funny to see where people laugh and where they don't laugh. Sometimes they laugh at stuff that you never get a reaction for, or from rather, here.
Yeah.
But the public find certain things funny, which is, I don't know. It's interesting to see what people get, humor out of, what people get upset with. Yeah, it's good. I think it also too is because they see just the final version. I think they like it a lot more, because we're always criticizing all the stuff we could have done a little bit better. But when you see someone watching it for the first time and it's all in its final glory, first off the bat, I think you begin to appreciate the work that you've done, rather than the mistakes that you might have made along the way, which is makes it feel like it's worthwhile a little bit, I guess.
Well, a lot of people are going to be watching Frozen 2 again very soon, because it's coming to all the home video formats there. What work did you do for the film, and what should people be out on the lookout for?
Animation. That's my bag. I touched most of the characters on this movie. I got to do a lot more Olaf on this movie. I didn't really get to do any Olaf animation on the first one, so. Let's see. A few sequences. The part where he's pointing on Sven with his hand on how much water passes through animals. That was one of the more interesting shots that I did on that movie. A little bit of Anna being upset in the cave. Kind of all over the place, to be honest with you. There's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. What's your favorite scene from the movie? Unless there's a big spoiler.
My favorite was the Olaf recap sequence. If you've seen the movie, you know which one I'm talking about. Unfortunately, I didn't get to animate any of that. I was busy doing other stuff when those shots came up, but I think all the people that worked on that really killed it, and it's just a very humorous take on the first movie, and I think it adds a little bit of comedy into kind of a stressful situation, so it kind of lightens up the mood, I think, in that part of the movie, and I think that's my favorite part of the movie.
It is amazing how the movie kind of grew with the audience, and it plays with some more mature themes in a really, really wonderful way. Does that sort of come back to you guys and give you some different approaches to your work as well, to make it a little bit more dramatic or a little bit more mature in the animation style?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that a lot of us really enjoy when the movies take on more adult themes and more adult tones. We understand that our bread and butter is making family movies, so obviously you can't get too dark or too serious, but it is nice making things that mean something, and it's not just fluff. So when you have a more serious or a darker theme, definitely people take it on board to animate that way. Definitely the viz dev artists will cook it up and they'll go in that direction. I know that everyone, they enjoy just doing things that have a good vision to them, have a good theme. So no matter what it is, they like to play that up. It's really whatever they can sink their teeth into.
How does it work with doing the amount of animation that your team has to do to put the movie together? Is it all structured and organized from the beginning, and you know exactly what weeks and what shots you're going to be working on, or is there a little bit of a fluid kind of sharing of that work?
No, it's definitely fluid, for sure. Because we're constantly making adjustment to the movie, like all the departments are. So sometimes things get put on hold for a little bit, which frees up artists to do something else. So whenever a sequence of a movie is coming through, the pipeline is ready to be animated, we look at who is running out of work, and that's usually that crew of people that will then start working on that sequence. So there is a little bit of a fluidity to it, but it's a balance. It's definitely something that people have to be on their feet for throughout a production, because if you're too rigid with the way things are run, you'll never get the movie done. You have to be able to be flexible at all levels.
Andrew, there's a lot of fans who probably will kill me if I don't ask you this. You actually also did the VFX for 300. And so tell us about the experience of working on 300, and how did you go from doing such a violent movie to creating this, family-friendly phenomenon?
That's the great thing about animation, though, is that it's not a genre, it's a medium. So you can do anything. You can do horror, you can do visual effects, you can do fluffy kid pieces. You can do anything that your mind wants to create in any genre or however it feels. So 300, it was great. That was actually the first feature film that I ever worked on, and that was down in Australia. And I had gone down there because my wife had got a job working on Happy Feet at the time.
Oh, wow.
And
Cool.
so I went down there with her, and was lucky enough to pick up work in their film division. And that just happened to be the movie that was coming up. I did a couple of commercials there, and then started working on the Spartans, and did a lot of big buff dudes running around and dying.
That's awesome.
Well, Disney Animation Studios has been killing it in the last, 10 or 15 years. And we've really, like Disney's CG department really was Pixar for a long time. But it feels like, Disney Animation proper has just been crushing it with Frozen for sure, but also Moana and Zootopia is one of my favorite films. I love Big Hero 6, even going back to Bolt. What's the culture like? What's it like to work there now that you've had a chance to kind of experience some other cool places to work? What is it like walking through the halls of Disney Animation and working at Disney?
Wow. Definitely when you first get here, there's some trepidation. You want to live up to their standard, the standard that you've kind of grown up with, because obviously I grew up with Disney movies for sure, and there's always that feeling of someone's going to figure out that I'm not good enough to be here and kick me out.
I think that's Canadian. I think that's just a Canadian thing, my friend.
Maybe, but I think a lot of artists share that feeling of like hidden inadequacy, that they're quite not good enough to be here. And I think it's just supports the fact that so many people here are so talented that it's almost a little nerve-wracking trying to live up to that level. But it's great because it makes you improve, and it makes you push yourself. But you kind of get you kind of get out over the years. You kind of calm down. You get to know more people. Becomes more familiar, more comfortable. And then the new people coming in, you see the same look on their faces, and it's guess your job to make them feel a little bit more comfortable. Like, don't worry about it.
That's awesome.
We're not going to kick you out.
Do you have a favorite of the recent Disney animation films?
Just to watch, or that I worked on?
Yeah, that you're also a part of, and that you're proud of, and.
Well, I don't know. Like Wreck-It Ralph was my first feature here.
Cool.
I had a great time working on that, and I really love that movie. I really think is still a little maybe underappreciated. It got a little bit more of a following kind of after the DVD came out. More people saw it.
You got a lot of fans of Wreck-It Ralph right here. We're all gamers here, Matt. So
So I really like that one. I think I have a soft heart for that one, simply because maybe it didn't get quite the recognition that the later movies did. It was still as we're ramping up. So, obviously everyone, Frozen's super big, and Zootopia got a lot of love, and Moana did really well. But I think that, Ralph was maybe because it was my first movie here, but it's one of my favorites.
Well, we want to see more Wreck-It Ralph, and we want to see more Zootopia. And one that I definitely want to see a lot more of is Big Hero 6, especially with all the, the superhero genre just blowing up, the superhero movies across the... I know you can't tell us anything, but...
Make it happen, Andrew.
Just tell everybody there, okay? We want more Big Hero 6.
I think they're aware of it. They're aware of it. Unfortunately, it's above my pay grade. I wish I could just make those calls, but... The people that do make those calls don't listen to me, but it'd be great. I'd love to work on that movie again too. I had a lot of fun working on that movie. Who knows? I mean, it's definitely a popular property. Maybe down the line, but we've got a lot of things on the back burner already that are gonna be done first.
I bet. I bet. Can you tell us anything about the new movie that you're working on?
It's called Riya and the Last Dragon. We're just getting started on it now. Animation is, at least. It's been in development for a few years now, and there's a lot of really great artwork done. You can look online and see some of the first art pieces. They're great. I guess directors.
Don't get hurt, Andrew.
We can't get you in trouble.
Don't let anybody hurt you.
It'll be good. It's got a good sense of adventure to it. It's good.
Awesome.
It'll be fun.
Andrew, what words of wisdom would you give to some upcoming animators or VFX artists? As you know, there's some students here right now.
Okay.
What's some words of motivation that you could give, or any sort of advice for their future?
There's a few of them. Definitely, I think the first one is that, don't get disappointed if you don't get to where you dream of being right away. I think it was, as I said, my first feature film that I worked on was 300, and I think that was 7 or 8 years into my career before I worked on my first feature film. And I know that there's a lot of people coming out these days, and they don't go straight to a feature film company. They get really bummed about it. But, there's a lot to be learned from working at smaller studios doing, maybe lesser seen projects. But it makes you appreciate working on the bigger projects when you do work on them. I would just say, you just learn as much as you can at the place you're at. And learn from everyone around you, because the people that you meet on the job, they're the people that are gonna tell you so much and show you so much. Try to get as much out of them as you can, and listen to them. That's another one. Learn to take criticism. Learn that people are gonna tell you how to make your work better, and if you listen to them and you apply that to your work, you will get better faster. I know it sucks when you hear that this thing you've toiled over, that there's problems with it, but if you can learn to, just let it be what it is and just creative criticism rather than personal criticism, you'll get better a lot faster. It's a tough thing to do, but you get a thick skin after a while, and they're hard lessons to learn, but if you go into the mindset of learning them, then you'll get better faster.
Yeah. I love that you've got colleagues behind you right there. That's so fantastic. They're all wondering, what are you doing? That's so great. Listen, please, we know you got to go, but this has been really wonderful to have you on here. And please give everybody at Walt Disney Animation Studios a high five from us. And please keep making the magic that you're making, all right? It's really fantastic work.
I'll do my best. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew Lawson. Yes. Thank you, sir. Okay, we've got a lot more EP for you right now. We've got a buried treasure. That was great. Today's buried treasure is Evoland Legendary Edition, which is out for the Nintendo Switch. It's also available on a lot of other machines as well, Steam and other consoles. I first discovered Evoland, which was the original game, on iOS ages ago. I've probably talked about it on this show because I think it's absolutely endearing, but what you get with the Legendary Edition is you get Evoland 1 and you get Evoland 2, and of course you get all of the Switch control functionality along with it. And, you know, for my money, it's a better fit for me than it was when I played it on the phone. I appreciated the quality of the mobile experience. I thought it was pretty cool, but this is a game that really is a love letter to classic video games. The whole conceit here is that you start off with a very rudimentary, you know, Game Boy-like screen, and you're playing a little adventurer, and you're cruising around. You basically get a couple of different directions, and then you get more directions, and then you start to add, you know, a sword. And then you get enemies, and then you get hit points, and you're eventually changing the feel and the look of the game as you traverse, and you do that by unlocking chests, but instead of loot, you get features in the game. And so suddenly, this very rudimentary, you know, green and black screen will turn into a full color screen, so it'll look like a 16-bit game, and then you'll unlock another chest, and you'll get some Mode 7 scaling, and then you unlock another chest, and you'll get, you know, some 3D graphics, and then some textures, and then faster loading times, and it's pretty damn clever. Certainly is evocative of lots of games that we love, you know, Zelda and Final Fantasy and the Mana games and all these different eras. These eras of action adventures and role-playing experiences. You get turn-based combat in here as well as real-time combat, and you're exploring dungeons, and it's clever as hell. Now, I do wish that it ran a little bit better. There were some times where it just felt like the control was off a little bit, or the game took the control away from me and I didn't quite know what was going on, but just maneuvering sometimes felt a little bit clumsy. There are long load times, which I think that was kind of a bit of a joke, is that they wanted to take a long time to load in between areas and stuff. It's a pretty incredible experience to play a game like this and to see how far we have come, and to honor developers that worked with all kinds of limitations, and they still managed to mine into our imaginations and build stuff that really resonated over time. I wish that a company like Square or Nintendo would say, you know what, this is a cool idea, and they're making, you know, a pretty solid homage to characters and themes and modes and games that we have made over the years. Why don't we do something similar to this? And I think, honestly, like a Zelda experience that got us started off in the Zelda 1 kind of art style and then progressed all the way through Breath of the Wild, through various sort of magical incarnations, would be incredible. But still, we have Evoland here and now. It's available on virtually everything, and I think it's worth playing on whatever gaming system you want to play it on. I think that this experience overall is very clever and very fun. I'd probably give it about an 8 out of 10, but because it's been around for a while and it's been available on different things, but it's also sitting alongside lots and lots and lots of choices out there, I think that this game is a terrific buried treasure. So we started EP Live's new season on February 5th, and then immediately afterwards we skipped a week because it was my birthday.
Went on vacation.
I went on vacation
not
right
a good
away,
time.
which was maybe not the best planning, but yeah, it was my birthday and it was my daughter's birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, Vic. Let's give a round of applause for Vic.
Thank you.
1 year younger.
It feels great to be 40 finally.
Yeah. 28.
But we had an amazing trip to Disneyland. It was such an incredible trip down there. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Galaxy's Edge because this is kind of still brand new.
Yeah.
And I wanted to sort of review it and we could chat a little bit about it.
I wanted, because I just went about a few months ago.
Yes.
Before I want to know your reaction, what was Ruby's reaction?
Oh, she was in heaven.
Yeah,
she was dressed as Ray, and we're not showing her face, Marcy, my wife, Marcy. So don't worry. But she was dressed as Ray, and she was running into stormtroopers, and Kylo Ren was like looking at her and staring her down, and she got hugged by Chewbacca, and ran into like adult Rays who would kneel down and talk to her and stuff.
And genuinely, what was your like first reaction when you walked in from?
Awe.
Yeah, you were just.
It's awe. I mean, it's like the most beautiful movie set that's perfectly lit.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what time of day that you go there. And we were there like first thing in the morning all the way till the evening.
Yeah.
And the life-size Millennium Falcon in the middle of the corner of the courtyard and the market. You know what really impressed me? We've been going to Disney for many years because I have a lot of video game events down there, and then I usually invite my family to come down and join me, and we end up at Disneyland. But it wasn't so much about selling you plastic souvenirs.
Yeah.
They have a real, I don't know, it's like they're trying to make it a lot more quality stuff.
It feels like they're just trying to bring you into the Star Wars world.
Yeah.
Right? There's people recruiting you to come play Sabacc, you know, on the side, and there's just, you know, obviously characters walking around, and you see the Resistance running away from the stormtroopers, and they're telling you where they are, and I've actually seen people like, you know, tell the stormtroopers where they are, and like it's so much fun. It feels like you're, you know, in an adult playground, you know. In a sense.
Yeah. You'll hear TIE fighters and X-wing fighters flying overhead, and you'll actually look up because it's just perfectly placed.
So what was the first ride you went into?
Well, only Smuggler's Run was
just open. Okay.
Well, no, Rise of the Resistance was open, but and we did get on it, and I'd show in our footage. I show maybe a tiny little second.
So you did do Rise of the Resistance.
Yeah, I didn't want to spoil it. Did you get on that?
No. It was not open when I was there a few months ago.
Well, this is the thing. It is an incredibly elaborate ride, and I'm not going to hype it up too much. It got hyped up to us like crazy. But yes, of course, you need to experience Rise of the Resistance. But the way you experience it is almost a ride in itself. You have to be at the park at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you have to get inside the doors by 8. And nothing's open except you can get into the park. And then as soon as you get into the park, and at 8 o'clock precisely, the app lets you sign on to a boarding party, and you got basically 2 minutes. And the whole day's worth of Rise of the Resistance is out. And so you'll hear people at 8 o'clock in the morning, And so we were
groups.
We were on boarding party 20, and so we got on, and it is pretty. I'm not going to even, because I don't want my thoughts to color anything, but it is to be experienced.
Did you mouth off Chewie we're home as soon as you got into the Millennium Falcon?
I sure did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I sure did. We shot me coming down the hallway a few times.
Just the right kind of dork that I love.
And my friend Bob Donatucci, who I've known for about 25 years, I met him. He actually worked at the Collective. He lives down near there, and he's been a Disney season pass holder forever. He and his wife Minna, and they joined us. And he generously played Chewie in that moment. So Chewie, we're home, and then Bob just came home as Chewie. He was very kind. That's my Chewie right there. I love that man. He's amazing.
I know we don't have much time, but you got to tell us about the lightsaber building.
Okay.
And tell us about what color lightsaber you went into, and if you put the lightsaber in a holocron, and if you cried.
I came so goddamn close to crying. It was embarrassing. Okay. I was like I was choking back tears. But I gotta say, first off, the Millennium Falcon, the Smuggler's Run ride, you have to do that. But the best way to do that is with a group of 4 or more people.
Yeah,
so
6 that can run at one time.
6 at a time. If you can get 6 people to go in, then you can sort of pick what seat you're going to be in. The best way to to ride the thing is to be the pilot.
Yeah.
How many times did you do the ride?
I only did it once. Yeah, and I was a gunner. I was pressing a button the whole time.
We did it 5 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
And I would have kept going because it was amazing. But the best way is to be the pilot. Yeah. But it's so much fun when you've got a group of people with you and you do it. It's so much fun. But yes, the most enjoyable thing that I did was build the lightsaber, and it was incredibly expensive. They're like $200 US to actually walk out of the park with them.
Much, yeah.
But it wasn't even the souvenir, which we own. It was the process of putting it together, which was all wonderfully acted, and they come out with all the pieces, and you're selecting. I chose peace and justice or something.
Like the main one, pretty much, like the main good guy.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the Luke Skywalker.
Well, it has Luke parts and it has a lot of Obi-Wan parts.
Yes,
so you can kind of make them
with Yoda
blend.
color. I chose the green because
Luke had a green lightsaber later on too, right?
Yes.
Did you go into the store later, put your crystal in the holocron, and find out what crystal you got? Vic,
I didn't do everything, partially because we wanted all of Disney, but also because I don't want to. Because there's also an app that you can play with, and you can go around.
Yeah. I didn't do that.
Tons of spoilers and things like that, and lots of crossovers with the movies. I didn't want everything to be experienced on this one trip.
Yeah,
I wanted to get a nice view of most of the stuff. Yeah. Even the food was great. I'm a vegetarian. I had great vegetarian food, but I want to go back and drill down and maybe play with some other crystals and stuff too. But it was emotional. I truly was like tearing up. I was thinking of my decades of loving Star Wars, and then I'm watching my daughter build her lightsaber, and I was totally overwhelmed.
What color did Ruby?
She chose purple.
Okay.
So
yes.
She's
the Mace Windu.
She's all into the Mace Windu.
Yeah, I like it.
The lightsabers look fantastic together, and I'll never forget that moment. It was amazing. As great as the whole park was, that building the lightsaber, I can't recommend that enough. It's a total extravagance. You don't need to do it, but it's fun.
How did you get it through the airport?
I was so worried that they were going to get crushed or broken, or I was standing up by the overhead so that nobody would squish anything on it. I was just like protecting trying not to look like the biggest nerd in the world.
Protecting your lightsaber, okay.
But I didn't want anything I didn't want it to fall down on anybody.
Yeah.
We got them home safe and sound. They're all good.
Nice.
Everything is good. Hey, but listen, we are moving on. We've got a great interview with the head of Media Molecule. Her name is Siobhan Reddy. Before we do that, our friends at PlayStation Canada sent us out a copy of Dreamz, which is the game we're going to be talking to Siobhan about. This is going out to our friend David, who is the sharpest dressed man
we
at
are
EP
doing
Live.
it.
Come on up here and grab
Come up here.
your bonus copy of Dreamz. We expect you're gonna make lots of cool things for us, okay? All right, make lots of cool things. That's your job. That's your homework. All right, let's find out a little bit about the development of Dreamz. Here's my chat with Siobhan Reddy. We've got a treat today. We've got the studio director from Media Molecule who has just launched Dreamz. Siobhan Reddy is joining me from Guildford, England. And Siobhan, it is always a treat to have you on EP. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I love coming on your show.
Well, congratulations on launching the game. I know that this has been a years-long endeavor. And I also know that this was a staggered release because you had to kind of let the people in a bit. But how are you all feeling right now?
I mean, it's really weird. Like Dreamz has been, has sort of pushed us all out of our comfort zone all the way throughout development. And, an early access was really new to us. And, and then like launching after the early access is really new. So, yeah, people have been sort of asking us like the last week, like, do you feel done? And it's like, no, like with Dreamz, you never really feel done. You just feel like we've reached that next really big milestone. So it's been like amazing to get the new influx of dreamers, seeing them sort of flood into the Dreamiverse, and then all of the early access dreamers helping them and giving advice. Like, you just sort of really get that feeling that the team has grown and the project has grown. And yeah, it's hard to know exactly what to feel, but it feels good.
When I first heard the name Dreamz, I thought it was big. It was esoteric. It was kind of wide open, and I thought a little nebulous as well because it's But as I started to learn more about the game, I thought, okay, well that kind of encaptures what you're trying to do with this game. Now that I've played the game, it is the perfect name, and it feels more like you guys created an ecosystem than just a product. You guys created an entree into Dreamz.
That's very cool. Like that, I mean, really the aim of Dreamz was to be able to, give people all the tools they need to be able to express themselves. And like my memory of the naming of Dreamz, and I'm sure everyone remembers this slightly differently, was that like we wanted to create a set of tools that would almost allow you to like create your dreams as fast as they kind of disappear from your mind. And as we know, dreams are very strange and weird. So yeah, like this sort of idea of fluid tools, flow state, expression, were all sort of really big kind of guiding principles for the tools themselves. But the thing that I love the most when I sit and play through the Dreamiverse is I really do get that feeling that I am playing and seeing works like artwork and games and music and little films that really do come from somewhere personal from the audience, from the dreamers, and like, they've got the whole spectrum of stuff in there, and it just, I just find it incredible to just sit and kind of, I love going to art galleries, I love going to the theater, and now I also just really love surfing the Dreamiverse and kind of seeing what people are creating.
Yeah, because for so long, obviously, I made the analogy that this is like an interactive YouTube. It's like a video game YouTube that you guys have created, which, congratulations, by the way. That's no small task. But for so long, all we've been able to kind of enjoy from the world's population is this linear video format. And now you've given them like really accessible tools to build interactive entertainment. And I'm wondering if that was your favorite as a studio. Was that your favorite part of the Little Big Planet experience, was sharing it and letting people, and did that inspire this growth into much more?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think once you've made a community project, it's really hard to go back. And once you've made a community project that's all about creativity and people sharing in the joy of that, it's really hard to go back. And I think like Dreamz, therefore, is almost like that on like steroids. It's like every single tool you would need to be able to make a game. And like each of those tools themselves is a discipline. So if you're an animator, there's stuff for you. If you're just super into like logic gameplay, there's stuff for you. If there's music, there's something for you. And I think like when we stopped working on LBP, which of course we love and still love, part of the reason was that we had set a very tight and beautiful set of constraints for LBP. The art style, all of it. The constraints were the beauty of it. And we really wanted to do something that didn't have those same constraints. It allowed the artist or the musician or the game maker to really get across what was in their head. And so, yeah, like now when I look at it, that's what's happening. And so to hear that sort of reflection back of like it's the YouTube of games like that is kind of, I think that was kind of what we were hoping would happen, would be there'd be this like burst of, hobbyist, it's like public access TV. It's like, it's people who, you don't need to be a professional to like enjoy Dreamz. You can be just someone who wants to just have a go at the craft that they love to enjoy in other ways.
Yes.
So it's a bit like, I think for us, it's like not every person who plays the guitar has to be a professional musician. You can just do it because you're like, I just like noodling with like, with Logic, or I just like noodling. I just want to make my little text adventure. So yeah, so I think like, I definitely feel when I like, often what I do is I'll just choose a keyword like funny or surreal or one of the tags and, newest, funniest, funny, and just see what's up there. And it's just like, can be like all sorts of things. And I just love that. I love that, like, it's, that there's no telling what will be in the Dreamiverse from any given moment, which is great.
So how do you onboard people into the experience? Because you've given, the end user a ton of flexibility and a lot of, tools that they can work with. But for those that are probably watching this still a little baffled by it, although it is a lot easier to explain now that people can actually get their hands on it. But
correct, yeah.
How do you, guide the player into this and encourage them to that expression?
Well, we have a character called the Dream Queen, and the Dream Queen is basically the player's guide throughout the Dreamiverse. And she basically, she leads the player through like teaching the sort of first set of controls, and she very gently sort of starts to introduce the player to more create mode within the home space. She's not really unlike the Stephen Fry character that was in Little Big Planet, but she's sort of a little bit more tutorial focused in the early on stages. And, the onboarding has been something that we have spent quite like a bit of time trying to get right, because you're right, there's a lot in there. And when you mentioned it being an ecosystem, that's exactly how I think about it. Like, you don't have to do everything in Dreamz to enjoy Dreamz. Like, you can go into Dreamz and be someone that is a player who likes commenting and giving feedback to players. Like, I love doing that. Like on my Saturdays, that's basically what I do. I wake up, I surf through the Dreamverse. I mean, I'm a lover, so I'm like loving everything, commenting on everything. I love that. Just really enjoy that, get a real kick from it. And then, but then there'll be other people who'll be like, no, actually, I really want to dive into, sculpting. And I think for those people, or for anyone who's moving into Create, we have a whole load of tutorials. And the tutorials they fall into like 3 different categories. There is the sort of step through tutorials, and we have a recommended tutorials playlist, which should be what I'd recommend. And then we have master classes, which are from Molecules here, sort of talking through different aspects, and we'll keep adding more of them. And then there's how-to videos, and those how-to videos are like much more bite-sized how-to. So it's like how to build a tree, how to build a rock, like that kind of thing. And so we've tried to find, there's lots of different ways to learn in Dreamz.
Yeah.
But because it's an open experience, like everybody learns at a different pace. Everybody learns in a slightly different way. Some people like to jump between things. Other people like to dive into, 5 hours of master classes. We've decided to treat it like almost like it's an open world game, so you can really choose which of those you do and which order you want to do them. And then of course there's like the amazing community who are like all helping each other on Twitter and on the Facebook groups, and and have also set up websites. Like Lady Lex has set up this amazing website of all of the tutorials, and so there's all of that. I feel like this iteration of it's been pretty good. I'm sure that we'll keep honing it along the way.
Well, the analogy is pretty easy to make of the early days of YouTube and the home videos that people were putting together and having fun with the platform. And it feels a little bit like that when you're surfing through people's games, and so there's a lot of Iron Man copycats and Mickey Mouse fighting Dragon Ball Z characters. It's interesting attempts, but then there's also some quite sophisticated work already. But it feels like the beginning of a perpetual content machine. And the question that I have is, like, could this be the last original thing that Media Molecule starts to make, and now do you just keep making new content in Dreamz?
We're committed to Dreamz in that, I think for us, we want to keep adding to it. And we haven't yet come up with when someone has asked a question of, can I do X in Dreamz? Or could I, if you did a little bit of code, do X in Dreamz? We haven't really come up with a no yet.
Wow.
So I feel for us, there is a lot of scope to build upon it. And like you say, in the community, there's already tons of original stuff where you look at it and think, particularly, look at the audience who've been in for early access till now. So there's some people who've been in, and since the beta, so people have been in for a year.
Yeah.
All those people, their skill level is amazing, and they're the people that we're like, okay, right, we need to help you build your communities, and that's that's sort of the work that we are going to focus on next. So it's I think for us there's all this almost us as a studio sort of transitioning to sort of really do the features that the community need to almost build their own communities. So it's a very interesting time for us as it's now seeing that happen.
Yeah, I mean, you've built a platform, right? You've built something that rests right now on the PlayStation 4, and what a beautiful, nurturing relationship you've built with Sony over the years to allow your Dreamz as a studio to kind of flourish like that. So in addition to launching, Media Molecule is also always crafting new widgets and content as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are working on that. And then I would imagine that you're starting to reach out into the community. Are you bringing people into the studio? Are you starting to hire from the people
We've already hired our first community member, Jamie Breeze.
Wow.
Of Llama Quest fame. So he's joined Abby's community team. And we're doing bits and pieces with community members already, and I think that will sort of continue, like it sort of did with Little Big Planet. So and that's a really interesting relationship because it's just amazing and wonderful to meet our community, and just always a joy to collaborate with them in any way.
That's fantastic. Now, are you also going to be working with established game developers to help create a dream within Dreamz?
Oh, maybe. That'd be telling.
Yeah, I would imagine there's. That must be one of the things with a game like this, is that there's so many different things that you can keep adding to it, but you don't want to get ahead of yourself. You've got to make every piece of it work.
Yeah, I think for us, like, we've all just sort of been talking about, like, we've got our plans in place for like the next 6 months, and we're going to sort of make the roadmap sort of kind of figure out a way to make that roadmap more public.
Yep.
And like you've always got to be careful with like the transparent development. It's a sort of slightly terrifying concept,
yes.
Particularly when you are you've got all these different ideas, and we want to also react to actually what's happening live. So we're just giving ourselves a little bit of time to kind of bring in the new community, and we have the roadmap sort of laid out, and then from there we'll start sort of making the announcement of what comes next.
So I got home from vacation on Saturday night. And then on Sunday, I wanted to check out the game. Mm-hmm. I spent like 9 hours. Like I turned it on, and you're just going from genre to genre, from taste to taste. It's like a little morsel of a platformer, and here's a shooter, and it's an incredible. It's YouTube. You guys really have created the rabbit hole for video games. Have you started to see the community kind of, prefer a direction with the software? Like, are there things that are already... Obviously, you had your awards where you gave some recognition to the early creators out there. But I'm wondering if they're... in these early days, if there's the types of games or genres of games that are really starting to blow you guys away.
I mean, I think the thing that I've really liked is you see creators becoming names. So it's not so much like a genre or a, because I think all the genres have been sort of being tackled by different people. But what you see is that people come in and they start really getting a name for themselves and being the person that does like cute logic things, or weird, Mr. Casey Jones with his Opposite Day games, like doing something that's kind of pretty surreal and funny, and Sloan McKenzie with his style of gameplay. And like you get this, you start, I think that's the thing that has been really cool. And then there's this respect that they all have for each other, and the way that the community all communicate with each other. It's not that was surprising. It's just like you see that kind of happen. They're very welcoming. Someone joins and publishes something. You see lots of really nice, encouraging comments on their first levels. And, that sort of feeling, I think, I'm on the outside of it because I'm with the creators, but it's like, I feel like it looks like it's a nice community to be a part of. Yeah. And so it's not necessarily that everybody gravitates towards one type of genre. It's more that they're kind of gravitating towards one type of feel, and that being a feeling of welcoming and bigging each other up and positivity and helping, which is just like beautiful. Like it's so lovely to behold, because you just sort of think, because I think that then encourages people to do the weird stuff as well. There's people who, if it wasn't, it doesn't feel like everyone's just like playing it safe and going, oh, we all have to do the same thing and we all have to use the media molecule kits and just make stuff with their stuff. People are like, no, I'm gonna make something on my own in this. You realize like people who play games love games, so they're obviously going to make games in the image of the games they enjoy the most. So you really see that, and so it kind of is a love letter to games in a way as well. You see this sort of real view of people kind of sort of putting across what they love about games, and that's also really lovely.
Well, which is fantastic, and it feels like there's this ideal of that collaborative spirit that sometimes we, as games get more corporatized and the business gets bigger and bigger, we sometimes remove ourselves a bit from, right? Like there is this dream that developers have to work together to create art, and that's what you've allowed people to kind of experience, which is pretty amazing. And I'm wondering how long the studio has been wanting to make this game.
Well, I mean, we've been working on it a while, so I mean, it kind of is. It is our sort of spiritual successor to LBP, really. Like, we couldn't have made Dreamz without having made LBP. Yeah. Like, that's for sure. Like, LBP is a really important step along the journey. Certainly, when I look at it now as to where it is what we pitched. But what we pitched was like, it really took us, like, everyone in the company, like, really working very, very hard to kind of realize that and to kind of push it as far as it needed to be pushed, because you can imagine a version where, you know, you only go like 3 layers into the onion of dreams, you know, but actually to make it so that people truly can express themselves, you've got to go all the way in. In fact, the very first community of people outside of to try Dreamz were the first party QA team in Liverpool. And I always remember when they picked it up and then we started to see their creations and it was like, oh, wow. And they were doing exactly the kind of thing that we see the community do, where it's like some people making games, some people making sculptures, some people making music, some people making all of it. And I think that gave us a glimmer of, and some of it was like super polished and cool, and other was like really weird and fringy, and it was like awesome. Like that's what we want. We want it to be this thing where there is this sort of breadth of content. That was like the first moment where I think we started to kind of get a sense of like this, where the collective design process was taking us, and that it was okay.
Are you guys?
But even though it was hard some days, it was okay.
Are you guys allowing people to kind of, program some randomization into level generation, or, you know, if they want to, yeah?
They're doing that already. People have doing that.
Incredible.
I didn't know they could do that, but they're doing that.
And ultimately, what would be, a new dream for you? Would it be for a creator to build something that Sony says, wait a second, that's incredible, we want to publish that as a separate, is that kind of
I mean, we talk about that, like, and I know Mark's talked about that a lot recently, of like what that could look like and we love that kind of idea. I mean, some of these ideas were sort of tested out in LBP, where we did actually have a sort of group of community members who'd made something for one of the versions of LBP. But yeah, like we love that idea. I mean, I think it's like, it's really early to say almost like what the next dream is. It's like, for me, the dream right now is to make sure that we just keep building our community, that our established community members are happy, and that we get some of the features in for them that they really want, so that, you know, they're feeling, you know, so that just so the ecosystem sort of is feeling all lovely. I want to see what my niece is going to do with it. Like, you know, we're trying out some stuff with education. We've got quite a lot of balls in the air in a way, and there's a lot of cool possibilities in the future.
We could keep talking about Dreamz forever, but I consider this step one of our conversation, or, you know, after launch. Please do, share my congratulations with everybody at Media Molecule, and just my love for the team. And
thank you.
You know, honestly, you guys are really special and incredible as individual creators in this space, and we're all better for the work that you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate that.
Okay. Continued success. Talk soon. We're back. We are back.
What a great interview.
So my thanks to Siobhan Reddy and everybody at Media Molecule. Of course, we couldn't have had her on live because they are in the UK, and it would have been 2 a.m. for them. But it was great to chat with her. And you saw our office, our back room here, our office at the VFS Cafe.
Sneak peeks here.
It was packed in the space because we share it with the school. So every once in a while there's events that are happening. And so we showed up early in the morning, but it was filled in here with other people. So we had to we scrambled and put that together.
And you were wearing plaid during the interview.
I was wearing plaid.
You broke the streak, Vic.
I did, yes.
You broke the streak.
No, I got applause for plaid. Thank you, guys. When I'm out in the real world, the plaid's got to come out. I only have so many shirts, but when we're in the studio, I'm trying to break from plaid. It's hard.
When we reach 50K on EPN YouTube, we're gonna invade your closet, and we're gonna do a plaid cleanse.
A plaid cleanse. We'll burn in effigy all of my plaid shirts,
and we'll do a little ritual around. And
my wife would be happy about that, actually.
We're gonna make it happen.
Hey, listen, we have gone to weekly on EP Live, so it's not 3 times a week; it's once a week. But that gives us a little bit more time to prep and bring in some cool guests like we had today. Thank you, Andrew Lawson. Thank you so much, Siobhan Reddy. We're gonna have some good people next week. I can't tell you who they are yet because I'm still putting some of that stuff together. But one thing I can tell you, especially to you that may be watching this out of Vancouver, come to the VFS Cafe at 390 West Hastings, like these fine folks have. The wonderful people at Universal Pictures Canada have partnered with us for next week's show, and we're going to have 20 tickets or 20 passes to go and see The Invisible Man immediately following EP Live. So the first 20 people that come to watch the show here at the cafe will join me and Bear, and we're going to go, we'll wrap up the show next week, and we'll walk over and watch The Invisible Man. Can't promise the movie's going to be fun or good, but we hope it is. It'll be fun to watch it with everybody.
We'll make it good. Man.
Yes, the event will be good. And we're going to have a great week next week. Thank you so much for watching today. Thank you to our super chatters, and thank you to all of our new subscribers. We are edging a little bit closer to 50K, which is a nice...
The plaid cleanse, guys. It's coming.
Which is a nice milestone for us. We appreciate your support very much. We'll see you very soon, and we'll have new content for you this weekend. We've got a fantastic Sunday feature for you, so keep your eyes out for that. All of the EPN members, by the way, get to watch that on Saturday. We're giving the Sunday features out a little bit earlier for the folks that are supporting us that way. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you soon, and until then, play forever.
Take care, guys.